I am Ray, and it's time to stop looking back, because you're not going that way. Don't you know that life is viewed through the windshield and not through the rearview mirror? What's going on here? You cannot drive like this. You're going to get us killed. I'm going to show you the secrets to actually live a good life, a life of fun and activities. But so long as you're trapped in the past, in the prison of your mind, you shall not partake. So let the festivities begin. You see, life can only be experienced in the present moment. So the less you're in the present moment, the less you're truly living. All of our troubles in life come because we don't know how to live. We get so caught up in our mind space that we're always thinking. We don't realize that we're not even experiencing life. We're experiencing our thoughts about life. And now with our phones, we're experiencing even less. And we're all looking for the same thing. It's the big cosmic joke that God has played on us all. It's that everything we work so hard to get, all that we desire in this life, it's already yours, right now. And you don't have to do anything to get it. Did you know the price to get into heaven is free? It's free. Good deal. Because the nature of life is joy, peace, love, and abundance. So ask yourself right now, how separated are you from these things? Are you living in absolute abundance all the time? Do you experience peace all the time? Are you in love with life? In love with everything? Do you experience joy all the time? And to the degree in which we answer yes or no, determines how connected we are or separated from life we are. And you see, the big trap, the big wall between us and everything we desire is our belief. It's a thought that what we want is outside of us. Now, we all get trapped here, even me sometimes. And that's okay, it's part of being human. But this game of life is often a process of remembering. Remembering that, oh yeah, wait a minute, everything I want is right here already. Think about it. You are always in the present moment no matter what. In the future, it will be the present. In the past, it will be the present. It will have been. So when you train yourself to think about the past or the future, you train yourself to be always out of the present moment, always miserable. And you can see how the most miserable people are always the people thinking about the past or worrying about the future. And the happiest people are the people who can be present, who can shut their mind off and just be. The evil villain in our story is our own selves. We trap ourselves in ego. And the ego is a collection of all kinds of stories and personality traits and ideas about the world. And depending on how traumatized the ego is, it produces a never-ending stream of thoughts that are related to the ego identity. If you've had a lot of traumatic experiences in the past, more often than not, you'll hyper-focus on all the negative things that have happened to you. Because the story of who you are relies on these traumatic experiences. And you can see them all the time. People make their personalities around their trauma, about the bad things that have happened to them. Oh, this person screwed me over, man. And I'm still mad about it 10 years later. I've seen people stay stuck for decades because they can't let go of the past. All because they haven't been able to train their mind to stop focusing on negativity, to stop focusing on the past. We do more trauma to ourselves than anybody else does to us. When something bad happens to you, it only happens to you once, and then it's over. But then we continuously re-traumatize ourselves over and over again by reliving it in our mind, in our imagination. And the body doesn't know the difference between what is real in the world and what is in our imagination. So we experience it as if it was happening over and over again. Logically, it doesn't make any sense. But of course, we're not as logical as we'd like to think. If you do not train yourself to get out of this prison, you will stay stuck there and ruin your future. That is why this is a prison. It's your identity that keeps you stuck. And this is why it's so hard to let go. Because our whole foundation of who we believe we are relies on these stories that we tell ourselves. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad. The ego needs to feed. It needs to feed on something. And the parasitic ego I call the monster mind. The monster mind is this parasitic entity that feeds off our negative emotions. It feeds off negativity. And it's pulling our strings behind our awareness, causing us to hyper-focus on things that don't serve us. Think about the ego having two forms, like a grasshopper and a locust. When your ego is negative, it becomes the monster mind. When it is positive, it just becomes a tool that serves a certain purpose. But we have to understand that when we're stuck in this prison, there is a force that actively prevents us from escaping. If you're into the spiritual circles, when you spiritually awaken, it's like the mind attacks get worse for some reason. And that is because, well, as Denzel Washington once said, if the devil leaves you alone, maybe it's because you're doing something wrong. But when the devil comes at you more than usual, maybe it's because you're doing something right. It doesn't want you to escape, and when you're on the verge of escaping, the old patterns can come back worse. But at the end of the day, the monster mind has no power. You have all the power. It has to manipulate you into giving your power away. You see these walls here? They're made up of thoughts, and they're reinforced through your own belief. The monster mind only gives you an offer. Hey, look at this thought. You should be worried. You should be fearful. And you take it and you eat it and you say, yup, correct. Yup, you're right. You're right. Yup. So you stay miserable. When at the end of the day, you could realize that you've been eating poop this whole time, disguised as chocolate. You thought you liked chocolate, but it wasn't really chocolate. You can break out of this prison anytime. The moment you stop believing your negative thoughts. The moment you stop feeding these negative stories. The moment the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain of change. There's a part of us that likes the negativity, that doesn't want to escape. And if you don't make the decision to change, nothing ever does. And so if you look out into your life right now, and things aren't going the way you want them to, well then maybe it is time for some change. Because energy is the force of creation, and the mind is a tool that directs the flow of energy. So the entire quality of the life that we create for ourselves is determined exactly by the quality of the things we focus our attention on. If you're focused on the past, you will create more of that. If you're focused on problems, you'll create more problems. We always create more of what we focus on. That is how we're creating our reality. If you really understood this, you would never allow a single thought or word to pass by you without your conscious awareness. Because you realize that every word that you speak and every thought that you think is actively influencing your current reality. The more you feed negativity, the more you experience negativity, the more your life is going to suck. And I like to say, well, if you don't know your power, you have no power. The price of ignorance is slavery and death. And if you think I'm being dramatic, just look around. Just look around at like the 5 people in your life. I mean, I don't know anybody in real life, maybe a few, who are at least somewhat cautious about this. Everybody else is a slave in some way or another. Not that I'm talking crap, it's just the way that most people live their life. Most people do not live an intentional life. Most people don't watch the things they speak about, or the things they think about, or the information that they consume. Think about, if you knew this, would you watch the news? No, you wouldn't watch the news. You wouldn't focus on anything negative. You wouldn't put any garbage in your mind. I mean, sometimes you eat a cake and, that's what's got to happen. But most of the time, you wouldn't do it. So it doesn't make any sense to ruminate on the past, the bad things that have happened. Because what will happen? Think about in a relationship. Somebody screws you over in the past. Now you're traumatized. Now you get into a new relationship. The trauma's still there. Now you're going to bleed all over your new partner because you didn't heal the wound. And so, when you talk to them, in these subtle ways, you're going to communicate fear and worry and concern, and you're going to push them away, and it's going to happen to you again. And then now you're even more traumatized. Now you get into another relationship. You're even more bleeding all over the place. It's even worse the third time. Because life has to give you the same lessons over and over again until you wake up. And the slaps got to get worse. Because you're just continuously falling asleep. Oh, what's going on? Oh, what's going on? You're not paying attention. You got to wake up. Stop living in this hypnosis. This dream. Because evil people take advantage of people who are asleep. Like cattle. They use them like little batteries in the Matrix. Just suck up all their juice, throw them away. They're done. Next. And this is happening to people right now, all the time. Because they don't know their power. If you just paid attention for one day to the thoughts that you think and the words that you speak, you would have no question why your life is the way it is. There's just a lag between your inner reality and your outer reality. Your outer reality is like a reflection of your past week, your past month, your past 3 months. So right now you're creating your future. And if you want to actually begin living a life that you desire, you got to do it intentionally. You're not going to just stumble upon it. You got to know where you're going. If you don't type into your GPS, you can drive all you want. Are you going anywhere? Probably not. Doesn't matter how hard you row. It matters what boat you're in. That is why you see people, they work so hard, they struggle. And it's like burning your own wheels. You're not getting nowhere. Because in order to create a life that you want, you got to know what to focus on. And if you don't have a vision, you're going to get distracted. pulled all over the place by billions of different things. And the great news is that, well, as you go along your journey, the past is going to come up anyway. Because as you begin moving on to higher and higher levels of your life, the old parts of you that no longer serve you cannot go. It's like they're too heavy. You got to be a certain light. Too many pounds, fatty. Drop the baggage, for God's sake. And so as you're going forward, as you're walking your journey, the old patterns will arise and you can deal with them then. And it's not wrong to take some time to reflect about the past. The question is, are you doing it in a productive way, or are you just sabotaging your life? It's not wrong to think about the future. Are you doing it in a productive way, or are you just being miserable? We have to be clear on who we want to be and where we want to go. We need to learn from the past and evolve. When you evolve, when you integrate the parts of yourself that created the trauma in the first place, the past leaves you alone. What I mean is that there are certain aspects of us that cause us to get in certain situations. Usually it's trauma. And we will keep repeating the same situations over and over again until we heal that trauma. Until we evolve into a new version of ourselves that no longer gets us into these bad situations. And you see, the thing is, life is expansion and contraction. There's no such thing as stagnation. You're either going up and you're either going down. And life is a process of ups and downs. But you want to go over the long term up. Little downs, not a problem. That's the way it is. But if your life feels more like this, well then you gotta switch things up. The reason this happens, we get traumatized, we get stuck in the ego prison. This becomes a powerhouse for negative thoughts, for focusing our mind in negative directions. And this creates more negative experiences for ourselves. Our identity influences our thoughts, influences our emotions, influences our actions, creates negative consequences in the world. And when we experience those negative consequences, guess what? It makes us feel bad. It makes us think bad. It makes us act in more bad ways, further reaffirming this negative ego. So we get caught in this downward spiral of death, where we're constantly hemorrhaging our energy, continuously focusing it on negativity, in negative ways. And because energy is the force of life, where life is not, death is. That is what this represents. Downward spiral of death, even though this is a line, but you get the idea. We have to break the cycle. We have to cut this snake off at its head. We have to change. We have to break out of this prison if we want to truly live the life of our dreams. A life of peace, love, joy, freedom, and abundance. And that's why I created Monster Mind Mastery. After suffering in misery with my negative thoughts for 7 years, I took everything I learned during my battles with the monster mind and packaged it into a nice little 90-day box with a bow on top. 90-day path back to freedom. Much peace and many blessings. And remember, just be in the present, not the past. Not the past.